Morning, guys. March 29, 2015. Want to make a video, kind of a VR for Red October, and my take on Jade Helm. Red October asked why the Marines have more of why are we amped up more than it seems like the rest of the branches of the service. Well, you have to go back to 1775 at Tunn's Tavern when the Marine Corps was established. We live on tradition. And even though John, Bon, and I, John is the prepared mind, Bon is Old Marine 1, and I am you're watching. When we got out of the Marine Corps never left us. We will always be Marines. We will always look and help the underdog. When we got out of boot camp and they handed us our first globe and anchor, everybody there were like 10 feet off the ground. I mean, we had accomplished what very few have done. You look at the grand scope of things, you've got, in the history of the Army, you got hundreds of millions of soldiers. In the Marine Corps, I don't think you got maybe a couple, 3 million total. No, 20 or 30 million total in the last 100 years. So the Marine Corps is an elite fighting force. And like, when I was a kid, I was born 1950. Now, I think I was 6. 1956, we got a TV, and it was the only one on the block. And we had 2 channels. And all that was on was basically people singing in the news. I remember that I used, as a kid, I would read a newspaper. I would read magazines, Life, Look, Post, try to find them. And radio. Radio was huge. 99% of all information we got was from the radio. And then we confirmed it through the newspapers. Back then, when you saw a cop, you went over and you said, "Hi, how you doing?" You bought him a coffee or something. Because cops back then, they were good. They were your brothers, sisters, your friends, your uncles. Now that's in the 50s and early 60s. I would say around 1955, 64, 65, things started to change. and it's been going downhill ever since. And on this Jade Helm thing, in 1968, I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, south of San Diego, California. And at that time, LA riots were a daily thing. And the Marine Corps all the Marines on the West Coast were in training. And we would pull an op, and everything was done by truck back then. Helicopters were few and far between. There was nothing. God, I wish we had what you guys have now in Vietnam. But we would pull miles long convoys from Camp Pendleton up to Barstow, California, 29 pounds. And that's 2/3 of the state. And we pull ops all the way up through there. And the civilians were part of it. They enjoyed it. They got to play soldier. What I see coming now with J. Helm, you're going to have maybe 1,000, 1,500 operators, and then you're going to have 5,000 to 10,000 for logistics. Because for every one guy on the ground, it takes a lot of people to supply that one man. And the reason I think they're doing it in such a large area is because when you go to Afghanistan or Iraq, when you get in a chopper, you're there for a while. So to do it in the States, you couldn't do it by getting on a chopper and flying 100 circles around the base to simulate distance and then land into a known environment. You gotta pack up, fly off, land in areas that you have no idea who's there, who's friendly, who's not. What are logistics? What's the terrain? So I think this training will be good. And do I trust the Special Forces? Yes, I do. Do I trust my Marines? Yes, I do. Do I trust the Army? Yes, I do. Do I trust the Guard, National Guard, Reserves? No, I don't. They go out and play soldier 2 weeks a year, every other weekend or every weekend, 1 weekend a month or whatever. So they're gung-ho, they don't know shit. I'm not knocking them, we need them, but they just don't carry the training that the regulars have. Now, are there shitbirds in the regular? Are there shitbirds in the Marines? Yes, there are. Are there yes men? Yes, there are. Are there people that will do anything to earn a stripe? Yep. But I firmly believe my brothers will take that person down. I don't believe my Marines, the Army, Special Forces, the SEALs, they are not going to turn on you. They are the tip of the spear. they will turn on their commanders before they turn on you. And I'll put my life on it. Do I think that we should have this exercise? Yeah.
Hey everybody, Red October.
This is the only way they're going to learn. And it's called trust. I trust them. I mean, what Obama's done in the last 7 years, he's basically ripped the heart out of our country. Now, my generation, which is dying off pretty quick, if we had the numbers of the young ones, and we had the mobility, instead of like a wheelchair, yeah, we would do something, because that's how we are. The younger generation, the now generation, I don't give a very big number of how many of them will read a newspaper or listen to a radio for news, to do research to back up to see if that news is true or not. But I do trust them to watch and get all their news from the internet, and from that they'll make all the decisions. I'll end it like this. When I was a kid, we knew everybody on the block, if not the town. We knew everybody's business and they knew ours. You could walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, how's it going?" You do that now and they freak out. People freak out. How many of you know your neighbor? But how many neighbors do you know next to that neighbor? Other than, "Hi, how are you doing?" But I've seen this country become a bunch of pussies. And it's time to get our balls back. Because it's not okay for what I'm seeing, what we are letting happen. It's not okay. This country's in a hurt locker. We gotta be a corpsman. We gotta help this country. We gotta start growing some balls and start kicking some ass and get our country back. I've rambled enough. I hope you can follow it. I just watched a couple of videos and I just hope this makes sense. This old Marine, he's gone.